All right, everybody, welcome back to the next episode of More Than a Major. Today we have another amazing guest, John Swartz. So, a little bit about John Swartz. He's a staff member at FIU Global First Year. If you don't know where that is, it's in the second floor of Primera Casa. So, make sure to go visit them if you guys have any questions after this podcast. He's the program manager there. So, he develops career readiness programs and coaches students towards career paths. So, if you guys have heard about his mindfulness training course, if you haven't heard about it, make sure you do hear about it and you do participate because you can get honors points if you do participate, which is really awesome. So make sure you check that out for the fall. John also, he's done a few honors hours for us, so I'm sure some of you guys recognize him, and we'll hear his message and be like, hey, I think I've heard that before, which is awesome. He's done a couple honors hours on healthy habits for us, and also finding your why, which a lot of you really liked, and it's really, really awesome information. And John is also really good at giving advice. He's basically my personal therapist at this point. So I'm really glad that he's here and he's joining us. So welcome. Thanks for coming on, John. Oh, we can't hear you. I don't know what happened. It was working literally 2 seconds ago. Are your headphones plugged in fully?
Let's try that.
There we go. Now I can
Wow,
hear
that
you.
was it. Yeah, they must have just come unplugged. Yeah, well, thanks for that really generous introduction. I know we've had a lot of one-on-one conversations about things that you're up to, and I definitely maybe I'm serving as a sort of a psychologist. I've got no qualifications. I just listen, right? Just listen
Yeah.
and try to see what's missing in whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And that's not just like for you. That's kind of like how I operate whenever I'm talking to students or even people that I work with on a daily basis. So yeah, thanks so much for the invitation. I really no, number one, I'm super excited to kind of have an opportunity to share some information with the honors college students. I love being in front of the honors college students. They've always impressed me with their level of curiosity and the quality of their questions. So you mentioned you had a lot of good questions for me, so I'm excited to answer those. So
Yeah,
yeah, thanks
yeah.
for the invitation, man.
No problem, no problem. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and I'm really excited to speak to you about these topics. But one of the things that we really wanted to talk about, especially right now, and I've been talking to a lot of students about this, and a lot of alumni and different people that I've been speaking to during this time. That right now, we're doing some social distancing. We're staying inside. We're not going to campus. So a lot of people have kind of thrown them for a loop a little bit. So one thing I wanted to talk about was kind of like routines and the importance of routines. So can you talk to us a little bit about kind of like the importance of a morning routine and maybe some tips for students to not get stuck in this like slump, you know?
Yeah. There's really a lot to kind of unpack there. And about a week ago, guys, Enrique messaged me. He's like, "Yo, you should come onto the podcast sometime. What would you want to talk about? What would be valuable at this time?" And the first thing that came to mind was morning routines. And I don't know that that's necessarily the most important topic that we need to be discussing today, but I think that it's really valuable, given the uh, like a lot more greater presence of anxiety in the world today, and for good reason. I mean, people are getting sick, people are even dying, people are losing their jobs and their life savings, and I'm sure that students who have lost opportunities and even lost income, and I know that a lot of students in the Career Accelerator program have lost their on-campus jobs and have been emailing me, "Hey, are there any
Mm-hmm.
opportunities?" So I just want to, in the midst of all that anxiety, I think that it can be easy to kind of get distracted from what your big goals are in life and seeing opportunities that are actually there for us to see. So I think that's probably one of the most important reasons there is to have a morning routine, is that it really kind of grounds you, it really stabilizes you, kind of centers you on what it is that you want to achieve for the day. So the example that I like to give to kind of like bring this home is when I was in high school, I was on the basketball team and I was practicing my free throws, and my coach said, "John, you've got to basically just do the same thing right before you take your shot." And if you look at the pros in the NBA, everyone's got their own little pre-dribble, spin the
Mm-hmm.
ball, whatever it is before they shoot it. So for me, it was spin, 3 dribbles, spin, shoot. And to this day, I do exactly that because that little routine, it's a cue really for my mind to kind of just stabilize, ignore the chatter that's going on in the audience. If I was in a game time situation with pressure on, and we all live with a lot of pressure. So that's probably the most important reason we have for wanting to start a morning routine. There definitely are other reasons. It gets the momentum for the day going in the right direction, and it really activates the proactive portion of your brain. So, you don't wake up. A lot of students, or, even myself, and I've seen my wife do this, wake up, first thing to do, reach for the phone, look at Instagram. So automatic, it's, a couple different things. You're comparing, you're seeing the highlights, the bright spots of everyone's life, and you're kind of comparing what's going on there with what's happening with you. And then maybe you open CNN or whatever it is, check the news. And then there's, of course, usually just about right now, the coronavirus and the situation, and a lot of fear-related news that's coming out. So we want to be careful what we're inputting into our minds first thing in the morning. So I'd say those are kind of the big reasons that we want to have the morning routine, and how it can really help us focus on what we're really trying to achieve, especially when things are uncertain, like they are now.
Yeah, 100%. When we first started working from home and students started taking classes from home, I didn't even really think about it, about like my morning routine. But I remember my older sister one day, she came up to me because I've been getting up, and we've had staff meetings in the morning, especially the first week we were having staff meetings every day in the morning. So I would get up and I would take a shower and I would change into a full outfit, and then because I know the type of person that I am, and I think that's
Mhm.
something that students need to be aware of as well, is like understand the type of person you are. If you're like me and you know that if you are in your pajamas all day that you are going to get absolutely nothing done, then change and take a shower and change, because it like, even just changing like that physical part like changes my entire mindset. So my sister was like, dude, I really appreciate the fact that you're like changing every day. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. I was like, that's really cool. I was like, hey, yeah, I mean, I just have to, or I won't do anything.
Yeah, at least you're
So
putting on a fresh set of clothes, and that that it's not a fresh set of clothes, but dressing up, like dressing in the way in which you would go to work. Today, I've kind of got casual Friday T-shirt on. It's Friday today, so but in other days I might dress up with a normal collared shirt that I go to work, just to kind of get myself, like you said, in the zone, in the kind of mindset of, okay, I've got things to achieve today.
hmm
I've got things that need to get done. And if I'm in my pajamas, I might get, into a little slower vibe, right?
yeah, I'll definitely just stay on the couch watching Tiger King all day if I am
I
in my
still haven't
pajamas.
checked that out. Everyone's talking about it.
To be honest, it kind of freaks me out how Netflix puts out a new documentary every couple weeks and then everybody in the world watches it. And if you don't watch it, you're a weirdo. But I watched it out of social pressure. But it's actually really entertaining. You should check it out. But a couple of, I mean, a question that came to mind, after when we're talking about morning routines is, I know that one of the things that you've talked about in other honors hours and that you've done in the past, that you've spoken to honor students, is kind of like creating healthy habits. And I'm just wondering, do you recommend any morning routine habits, or any habits that students can start incorporating into their daily routines right now that might benefit their mental health, or just benefit
Sure.
them maybe to reach a certain goal?
Yeah, great question. A lot of good stuff there. The first thing I'd say is, when you're getting started, if you don't have something in place, the most important thing is just keep it simple. You don't need to have some complicated framework. I do have a framework that I use for myself, and in something that we call the Excellence Course in the Career Accelerator, which I'll walk us through that, but it's not, mandatory to, go by that. I would say the key is do whatever is going to be consistent for you, whatever you're going to be able to keep up, because one morning routine isn't going to make much of a difference. It's really, the value of the morning routine comes with consistency, it comes with time. And what the morning routine really does, if those of you who might have been at the honors hour for habits, we talked about the three components of a habit, and the first was the cue. So the morning routine really is serving for the cue, for you to kind of get into the zone to be productive. And the routine, hopefully, that's going to follow that cue, is going to be getting things done, you being productive, you doing whatever it is that is most important for you to do today to progress towards your goals. And then, of course, the reward that you have is the productivity. So those are the three components of the habit: the cue, the routine, and the reward. So that's what the morning routine, right, is really doing. Is it's preparing you for the day, essentially. So for me, there's four key components of my morning routine. And right now it's been highly destructive because we live really close to the beach, and we go to the beach every morning. My wife and I go to the beach, and we do like about 10, 15 minutes of yoga. We do about 10, 15 minutes of meditation. We go for a swim. Maybe I'll go for a run, like a short run if there's a little bit of time, maybe do some stretching, something like that, and just connect and have a conversation with her.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and
Speaking to a lot of these like alumni and community partners about like morning routines, I'm like, dude, what am I doing with my morning routine? Yeah, I need to incorporate a little bit of yoga or something into it. That's
yeah, well, it doesn't matter so much what you do. You
yeah.
just want to cover like what I call the basics. So, and I got this kind of framework from several different places. The first place I saw this was in one of my favorite books. I recommend everyone read it if you haven't read it. The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. The last habit, the seventh habit, is called Sharpen the Saw, and that just means basically um, keep your like managing your energy. Essentially, is what it is. So there's four components of it. There's the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. So for me, if you can bring all those things in, whatever it is for you, bring all those things into your morning routine, then you're gonna start the day like way ahead of like even the high achievers. Look, here's something interesting. This is a while back. They did a study on I think that it was, I can't remember who it was. It might have been, I know there was criticism from the Wall Street Journal. I can't remember who did the study, but they did a study on the CEOs. They wanted to know, like the top CEOs of all over the US, they wanted to know how much time CEOs actually spend of their day in tasks that actually are progressing towards the mission of the company, right?
Hmm.
So moving it forward. And their conclusion was about 90 minutes a day. And these are people who are, working 12, 14, maybe even 16 hours a day. And so the Wall Street Journal someone wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal saying, hey, there is no way that's possible. No way these people are working 90 minutes a day in something that's productive. So this guy was one of the most credible people at the time, Jack Welch. I mean, still everyone kind of looks up to him in management, but uh, they did the study again because of what he said and his
Yeah,
credibility, and they came back and say, you know what, it's only 28 minutes of
that's
time
crazy.
that CEOs of the top companies actually spend every day out of about probably 14 hours on average, actually progressing the mission of organizations. That could have changed since the study was done, but I would say probably not that much. But the point is, if you really like take this on and bring this into your morning routine, then you'll be like jump starting your productivity like in a way that you've never experienced before. So real quick, I'll go over those real briefly, those four
Yeah.
kind of components that I mentioned. So the first is physically energized. A couple things you can do. I definitely recommend first thing you drink in the morning should be water. You actually lose some water while you sleep. So you wake up a little bit dehydrated, and you're going to need water for some hydration.
You know what I've heard about that?
Yeah,
Sorry to cut you off real
yeah,
quick. I'm not
yeah.
sure. I'm not sure if this is. I haven't done any research on this, so this could be
Sure.
wrong. But I've heard that like drinking like an ice cold cup of water in the morning is like better than drinking a cup of coffee. Like it wakes you up more than a cup of coffee.
Well, I don't know which would wake you up more necessarily, but I think that water is definitely better for your system and for the the sustainability of your ability to be productive throughout the day. It's important to drink water first because caffeine, coffee, tea, whatever, is a diuretic. So you're already a little dehydrated, and you probably, if one of those people, you wake up, first thing you do is drink a cup of coffee, or maybe 2 cups of coffee within an hour. You probably notice that within the next hour you have to go to the bathroom maybe once, maybe twice before lunchtime, and you're losing a lot more water there. So you're becoming even more dehydrated, even less like physically energized. Like we're talking about the quantity of your energy, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, so water. I don't know what you bring it. I don't know the real answer to that question, but definitely just drink water first. Wait a little bit before you drink coffee. Not saying don't drink coffee. Drink coffee. Drink caffeine if you enjoy it and it helps you. Just try not to drink it first thing. Try to drink water first. Have a well balanced meal, right? Little protein, little green, little vegetable, little fruit. um, this is really just fuel for your body, and you need your body to be able to perform and your mind to be able to perform, especially in the information um, like economy that we have. And do a little exercise. I just do some light stretching. I prefer to exercise at night. So I stretch, maybe do some yoga for like 10 minutes. You can go for a run if you prefer, go for a swim, whatever, get the heart rate pumping. But actually, the most important thing that I forgot in terms of the physical part of it all is make sure you get enough sleep. You get enough sleep. If you don't get enough sleep, you're not going to be as useful as otherwise. So 7 to 8 hours at least. So really, your morning routine starts when you go to sleep. So you want to make sure that you're going to sleep, relatively at a consistent time and waking up at a fairly consistent time. So yeah, that's the physical component. I'll just jump right now. I'll keep going. The next one is emotional connection. So, I mentioned earlier, like probably a lot of people might be waking up, first thing they do, check Instagram, check the news, Facebook, whatever it is. For me, I'll wake up and I'll check, maybe I'll check LinkedIn. And I'm not looking to see what people are doing. I'm looking to see, what people in the groups that I'm a part of, the professional groups, what's the news of the day in those groups? What are some things that people are accomplishing? Like, say congratulations to someone who just got a new job or just got a new promotion. If you live with someone, have a conversation with them, connect emotionally with other people. You can look at your calendar. Who are you going to be meeting with that day? And think about, empathize a little bit, actually. That's a great way to develop, even if you're alone, develop a little emotional connection. What is it that that person's going to? How can I show up in that meeting for them today? And, this is literally like a 60-second thing that you can do
Yeah.
to kind of connect yourself emotionally. Um, and then the mental focus. So for me, you do a little bit of learning every day. So what are your goals? What are some skills that you need to progress toward that goal? Read an article about whatever skill that is. Read, a chapter of a book. Spend 15 minutes reading a couple things. Watch some inspirational videos. Just try to put, input in your mind those messages of positivity and opportunity rather than the fear and scarcity and comparison that's out there on social media. And that really, like I said earlier, it centers you, kind of grounds you in the direction that you want to go. And then the last component is the spiritual component. So this is really just connecting with something bigger than yourself. So you can think about the number one priority you've got to do and who can help you achieve that throughout the day. You can, I do a little bit of meditation. You can meditate, you can pray, you can read, scripture, whatever your preference is. But yeah, those are the four components for me. And bringing them all together, this is, again, the 7th habit of highly effective people. It's also the framework of this really awesome book called The Power of Full Engagement. So engagement is like being in the zone with what you're doing. So those moments of flow when you're in work, you lose track of
Oh,
time,
I
and then
love
all of a
that.
sudden,
I
right?
love that so
So if
much.
you can really, you'll start your day like entering flow if you go through, and you can take 30 minutes to do all of this. Maybe when you first start, and again, I want to like really stress this, start with something you're going to be consistent at. Don't start with all those 4 components right away. I wouldn't recommend that. I didn't whenever I first started doing a morning routine. I went out, did a little yoga, that was it, right? Did that for a couple of months and then added in the swimming, added in the meditation. And over time, it just became, part of the routine. And then that
Yeah.
would prepare me for whatever it is coming the next day. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the framework. And I actually have a worksheet that we use in the excellence course. I'd be happy to share. I mean, I could share my screen actually if people are watching. Is this going to be video or just
Yeah,
audio?
we're gonna put it up too. But if you want, you
Okay,
can also
cool.
send it to me, and then I can send it out to students so they can have that as well.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, happy to do that. So I'll do that. And then if you're listening, uh, ping Enrique. He'll be happy to share that.
Yes, we'll send this
You
out
can
to you.
Great. Yeah, you can share my email with students if they've got any questions about that. But I'm curious, what you mentioned, there's a lot of questions coming in. What are some questions that students had that,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, we kind of compiled them into like bigger bigger questions. So, for
Okay.
example, we had a lot of students that had questions about anxiety and
Hmm.
about being like worried during this time and what to do during this time. So, I mean, do you have any tips or advice for students like kind of like trying to get over that hump,
Hmm.
of like of feeling anxious during this time and feeling a little bit cooped up. And then we also had some students, and I've been talking to some students lately who were talking about just kind of incorporating to their routine some creativity, but then also feeling a little bit of pressure to create and to be productive during this time. So I guess this is like a four-part question now that I'm throwing at you.
Yeah, I'm trying to write it all down.
But first question is anxiety. So related to
Uh-huh.
anxiety, what are some tips for students who are feeling anxious right now to not feel as anxious? And then
Sure.
second question is do you think it's okay to not be productive right now? You know?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then also maybe some tips on being productive. So a little bit of everything basically.
Sure. Cool. Cool. So let me start with the anxiety question because I'm sure that a lot of our people listening, watching, are possibly feeling very anxious. I've got a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, a lot of students who are also very anxious during this time. And I'll give my general advice, and keep in mind that this is a period of higher levels of anxiety, so the challenge is greater, to be sure. um, but for me, I just like, anxiety is a consequence of us thinking something about whatever's happening out there in the world. So one question that you might ask yourself, and by the way, not just anxiety, any emotion that we might experience is a consequence of positive or negative of whatever we might be thinking or feeling or believing about whatever's happening. So if we're feeling a lot of anxiety, you might just ask ourselves the question, okay, what's going on out there in the world, like objectively, right? Or whatever it is that's causing your anxiety. It might not be what's going on in the world. Um, and just ask yourself, okay, what are my interpretations around this? What am I imagining about what's actually happening out there? So if someone is having a lot of anxiety about the coronavirus right now, and honestly, I'm not 100% up to date with all the facts, so I can't like report any news or anything to
Yeah.
you. But I know that the cases are growing, and right now it's April 3rd. The worst is supposed to apparently come within the next couple of weeks, but nobody really knows that for sure. That's another thing, is that we don't know for sure what's going to happen.
Mhm. Yeah.
And just objectively, that's all that's really happening. We don't know for sure what's going to happen. And maybe that's okay. And if we let uncertainty be okay and not be something that is necessarily scary or necessarily threatening, then we'll have a little bit, you'll be primed a little bit more to kind of combat some of that anxiety that we're experiencing. And
Mhm.
not to belittle any anxiety that people are feeling, because I can talk about this kind of distinction all day, but at the end of the day, I still have moments in different areas of life where I'm super reactive to what's going on in different relationships in my life and different circumstances in my life. So there is no one who's like a master of this. No one's perfect at it, but if you practice, and that's the key.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, consistency is the key to anything.
Yeah,
And
and I
if
think also like starting in baby steps, right? Like that's something that
exactly,
we were
yeah.
speaking about earlier with an honors alumni. Like
Hmm.
you're not going to get to where you want to get to, immediately. You have to start off little by little, which I think is really
Absolutely.
important to a morning routine, but then also to just feeling better in general.
Yeah, you want to get small wins. Just take small steps. Like, don't think about the end goal. Whatever, like if your end goal is to be perfectly peace of mind, like that can be a goal. That's great, but don't think about that every day. That's like if you were walking a 1,000 step staircase and you're looking up the whole time. Every step you take, it's like, oh my god, it's like I'm never gonna get there. But no, you just take one step at a time and you focus on one step at a time, and eventually you look around, you're like, oh my god, I'm almost to the top. So like in this case, it's noticing, just noticing, and not making it wrong. It's okay to feel anxious, right? Just like it's okay for things to be uncertain now. And whenever you notice that you're feeling really stressed out or a lot of anxiety, just notice the impact that it's having. Don't make it right or wrong. It's not right or wrong. Just notice it, and then practice that. And then over time, like, take the first step. Notice it. Keep noticing it. You'll get better and better and better at noticing. And you won't be good at it at first. You're gonna suck at it at first, actually. Just like everything you try, any new skill you do, you're usually not gonna be good at it at first. And this is a skill, by the way.
Mhm.
Noticing what's going on, having that deep sense of self-awareness. It's definitely a skill. Just starting with that noticing and then continuing, and eventually you'll be able to tell yourself a little bit of a different story about what's happening, right? Okay, things are uncertain. Oh my God, I gotta prepare for the end of the world. If I go outside, I'm gonna, possibly get contracted, and then I'm gonna contract family. Okay, maybe and now it could become, if I go outside, okay, what are the precautions that I can take to protect myself and give myself the best probability of not contracting the disease, and making sure that the people I live with are safe. Um, so yeah, that's, I guess,
Mhm.
my general advice on kind of dealing with anxiety. Um, but again, if it's severe, and I should have actually said this first. I wish I would have said this first. So I just want to say that so you guys listen, is if it's something super severe, contact the counseling and psychological services
Mhm.
office
Yeah,
at FI.
100%.
They're still available. They're the professionals on campus. And if you feel like it's overwhelming to the point that you can't be productive, or you can't fulfill whatever your responsibilities are, it's interfering with your ability to function, contact them. And I'll just share that when I was a graduate student at FIU, and in my first semester, I was super depressed, and I went to counseling and psychological services for several months, and it really helped me see things in a different way. It was kind of, them being super empathetic about what I was experiencing, and what I was believing was true about my experience in life at the time, and then helping me see other possible alternatives that helped um, you know overcome that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no shame, there's no stigma. I 100% endorse and support people going to them, and they are excellent. They are very good at what they do.
Yeah. No, they're awesome. When
Mm,
it comes to what you were saying, it kind of like made me think about some of the things that I'm doing. Like obviously, like what you said, if it's severe when it comes to anxiety, yeah, obviously, please go to CAPS and speak to them. But something like small, and this is gonna sound really cheesy, but that's been
mhm,
kind of helping me throughout these last couple days has been just kind of like as dumb as this may sound, just kind of like noticing the little things, especially being at home. Um, I would consider myself, really creative. So I've been trying to play a lot more music, but also take like some pictures. And I like to take pictures of people, but that's the issue because like now, like, everybody's inside. And if I do take a walk outside, there's nobody around. So it's kind of like not as enthralling for me to like take pictures right now. But Polaroid came out with this, like, I was like on Instagram and I saw Polaroid put out this like little video that they made of like just kind of like they were talking about there was like somebody working from home. They were like typing away on a laptop, and their girlfriend or partner, whoever it may have been, was like sitting by a window, because they were inside, doing like self quarantining, self isolation. So he picked up his Polaroid camera, took a picture of her, and then I was like, yeah. And the tagline was just like notice, like it's time to like notice, like, the little things going on around us. So I've definitely been trying to take that into account, just like really like walking around my house, hanging out with my family, noticing like the really pretty things that are happening around us right now. Like I just got off a Zoom call doing another podcast with a student, a current honor student who's like printing masks for 3D printing masks with our Edge Lab equipment for like Baptist Hospital, and we were talking about how like just if you do turn on the news, it could fill you up with a lot of anxiety because there is a lot of like bad news going around because there's a lot of horrible things happening right now. But then there's also a lot of people who are trying to help, and there's always like a little silver lining there, which I think is important to like note to notice as well. You know.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And that noticing those small things, and for me, I forgot, this is actually, it was part of my morning routine. Now I do it right before I go to sleep, but practicing gratitude.
That's
So
what I was gonna ask you
that
about. I was gonna ask
yeah,
you about that. Yeah.
yeah, that's fits into the spiritual component of the morning routine. So if you have like a gratitude journal, Um, or I think this is less practice, but I practice hope as well. So I do that by thinking, okay, what are the three things that I am going to achieve today, right? And then practicing optimism for that. And what that does is it really balances my sort of time orientation. So when I'm practicing gratitude, I'm really focused on the present, things I have now. And when I'm practicing optimism, I'm focusing on the future, orienting my mind for the future. And we those are strengths, and we each have them, at different levels of them. And my optimism is sky high. My gratitude is, kind of middle of the pack. So I'm much more future oriented. And for me, practicing gratitude really kind of grounds me and lets me appreciate where I've been and where I'm going. And I'm going to share something actually that just came to mind that is I don't really share this with people, but it's kind of funny. When I was walking across the stage, graduating with my master's degree from FIU, and I was shaking Mark's hand to receive my diploma, the thought that went through my mind, and this isn't like me intentionally thinking, but the thought that went through my mind was, you haven't accomplished anything yet. Like, that's what went through my mind, and there's nothing right or wrong about that thought that went through my mind, but just to demonstrate that's how future oriented I am. I was thinking about the future in that moment. I was not, like, really enjoying the present, right?
Yeah.
I was freaking graduating with my master's degree. Um, and that was 2013. So that was about 6.5, almost 7 years ago now, December 2013. So,
But do you think that's like a good thing or a bad thing?
well, I think that it's good to be balanced because
Yeah.
you want to be able to function in the present moment. And sometimes if I'm operating too much in the future, I neglect what's actually happening around me, and I ignore the challenges that are here because I'm like, well, they're not going to be here in the future. I don't really need to do much about them. And then, that can really impede some of my goals. It
Yeah.
does stick around if you don't address it in the moment.
Yeah,
And
because I'm definitely the same way. I feel that 100%. I think that I'm definitely pretty future oriented. My friends tell me that all the time. But I
Mhm.
think it's like some for me, I think that, I need to like if I'm gonna stay this way, I need to do it in a more positive way because I feel like a lot of the times it'll be like I'll be we'll be having a really good day or something, or I'll be having a really cool experience and I'll already be missing it prematurely, if that makes sense. I'll be like, man, really gonna miss this, you know? But then my friends would be like, "Dude, but we're here right now. Like, you don't have to
Yeah,
be missing this right now." Like
yeah.
that's I
Dude,
do that
there
all
is
the time.
so much value in being here now. And that's something that I've really learned from my practice of meditation. And, I've been doing what I'm doing now for over 4 years now, almost 5 years. And, um, I have lots of workshops on like emotional intelligence and, kind of, calming your nerves whenever you're under pressure and stuff like that. And one of the things that's really just been a bullet point for the first 3 years of me working there on the slide of the PowerPoint was meditation, right? This is
Mm,
one of the things that you could do. Like the research shows, if you do this consistently, you'll be able to be more present, be here now, right? And I never really practice it, like maybe a couple times, but like I said, consistency is what it takes to really get the value out of it. And for my birthday this year, September 30th last year, I went to the beach and I meditated like it's something I wanted to do. And for the last quarter of the 2019, I only missed 4 days of meditating.
that's awesome.
And I've missed more the first quarter of this year, but I'm on a 7-day streak now of my meditation run. So definitely, something that you can do to really bring yourself to the present moment,
Yeah.
not neglecting the future. That's possible too, right? But
Mhm.
for people like me and you, we might need that a little bit more than others.
Yeah. And you were talking about your gratitude, the gratitude journaling I think that you do in the mornings. Could you
Yeah,
like, walk us through that a little bit? Just like if I was a student who's never done that before, how can
yeah,
how can you get started doing that and getting into the
sure.
habit of doing that?
Absolutely. So, well, first thing, this is an exercise that was created by the founder of positive psychology, Martin Seligman, the three good things exercise. So you want to, and how to get started, you just open up. Any notebook will work if you want to get yourself a journal dedicated to the gratitude writings. That might be even better. But just at the end of the day, you just think about what are the three best things that happened to me today? Because our minds tend to go to the worst things that happened. and we tend to worry about the times that we made mistakes and that we maybe looked a little bit foolish or we said the wrong thing, and we're worried about what other people are thinking that we said, and we don't really savor the good things that happen. So that's really what it's about. It's about savoring. So in order to savor the good things that happen, you not only identify the good things that happen, but you think about why they happen.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, no doubt, man, one of the things that I'm grateful for today at the end of the day is going to be having had the opportunity to be on this podcast with you and to be in this
Honored.
conversation. And well, yeah, thanks. And honestly, it happened because, you know, we built a relationship over the past 6 to 9 months, something like that. And I remember I was, emailing Umer at the time, who was the person before you in your role, and then got bounced back to you. And it took us a couple of months to finally meet in person, but when we did, we,
Yeah, yeah.
really hit it off. But yeah. So that's I was just savoring that, right? I didn't even realize it as I was doing it, but that's what just happened. I thought about what I'm grateful for and then why it's grateful. So savoring it really generates the positivity benefits of it. And by the way, this is actually a clinical exercise. This three good thing exercise is actually prescribed to people and has helped cure some people with clinical depression. Just thinking about three good things that happen every day. So I'm not saying that you need to be depressed in order to do this and get the value out of it. You'll get the value out of it wherever you are in life, even if you're like, super, high ego right now and you're achieving a lot and you're going full speed. Slow down a little bit, be in the present moment and practice that gratitude. Um, so yeah, I guess that's why you should do it. That's how to do it.
Yeah.
Why, what you're grateful for and why you're grateful for them or why they happen. And then, reflecting on that, you can kind of see the cause of these things as well. And perhaps over time, consistently, these things might be happening and you'll start seeing consistent causes. And you might say, oh, I need to put myself in position for those causes to kind of happen for me, right? And yeah, it's just a process that takes time, and consistency, guys, is the key to anything. You go to the gym. This is something we can all relate to. You do some bicep curls one afternoon. No one's going to be able to tell, right? Except for you, because your biceps going to hurt for the next day. But you go to the gym and you do reps for all your muscles for months, right? People are going to start to notice, and that's because you have to be consistent with it. And same thing, like language learners, right? People out there that bilingual people, right? You know that whenever you're learning your language, if you're not consistent, if you're not using it, you're gonna lose it, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with everything. Yeah, but I wanna address one thing that you said earlier, which was how can we be more productive during this time? I think that's a really important question. And again, just generally, for me, the number one thing that prevents us from being productive is distractions. So what is it that's distracting you in the moment, day by day? And usually it's this thing right here, your phone, right? And I'm gonna call you out, Enrique, because you messaged me, you texted me earlier today, and then I noticed it. I don't know, like a half an hour later. I only check my phone a couple of times a day, but
Uh-huh.
I sent you a message and you responded within like 10 seconds. So it was like, or maybe 30 seconds, maybe definitely not longer than a minute. And
Uh-huh.
that just like it was before I put my phone down. You were responding, and that tells me that you're really tuned in to what's going on, and this might be pulling your attention
Oh,
to
1,000%.
right.
Uh-huh.
And I always do this. I'm going to show you guys the apps on my phone, and this isn't like to show like you should get these apps. No, I got these and more apps. But what do you notice about this, guys? That's different from every other phone.
I don't see any social media.
There's a whole folder for social media
Oh,
on
is
your
there? Whoops, I don't see
yeah,
that.
but it's not on this screen. It's up there somewhere.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
But what you'll notice is there are no notifications.
Oh,
There
yeah, that's a good
are
point.
there are no red numbers here that distract my attention. So what happens if you have all these notifications and you pick up your phone? Your phone is actually commanding you how to use your phone. It's telling you where to go
Do you want to see
rather
how
than
how
you.
terrible mine looks?
Yeah, go
This is
ahead.
this is how terrible mine looks. Can you see
Yeah,
that?
and that's normal,
I
right?
have
Like, it's
42
a
unread
little.
messages.
Okay, so I have that many too, okay, but it just doesn't tell me whenever I look at my phone. And there'd be, before I did that, there's so many notifications, like from
Oh, you can
every.
hide the notifications?
Yeah, you can turn them off for
Oh,
all apps.
I didn't even
You
know
have to
that.
do it individually for all apps in your settings. So it took me like, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes to turn them all off. And well, if you do that, number one, it'll help you focus your attention on the task at hand and not be distracted from your from what's going on at hand. And by the way, since I said that, a statistic came to mind that I need to share. Um, Research out of the University of California, Irvine, says that, first of all, the average person is distracted every 3 minutes a day, the average worker in the United States. And like we are talking earlier about being in flow, being in the zone, being in full concentration, right? If you're distracted when you're in full concentration, then the average amount of time that it takes to get back to full concentration is 23 minutes and 15 seconds.
Wow. Wow.
So it's not only the time that your distraction takes, the 30 seconds, it's that plus the 23:15. And if the average person is distracted every 3 minutes, this is why those CEOs only are able to have 28 minutes a day at best on focusing on something that they need to get done to move forward, because they're distracted by so much. So you really want to guard your schedule in terms of being distractions. Schedule everything that you're going to do. I even have in my calendar times that I'm going to look at my phone, and it's twice a day. And I need to be responsible for that, because even though I have my notifications off, I still have to check WhatsApp. I still have to check my texts. I still have to check my emails. And there are people who are relying on me to respond to them throughout the day, every day. And if I don't do that, then I'm neglecting my responsibility. So you don't want to abuse what I'm telling you to do, but it's just a way for you to um, to kind of prevent those distractions. And it's these distractions that we have with technology. And I know that people who are graduating now, they grew up with technology. When I grew up, technology kind of came about like towards the end of my high school years. So I grew up knowing what it was like not to have a phone, right? And like a cell phone, like we had house
Mhm.
phones and everything, but and not to be connected to everything, right? The first phone I had, the flip phones and everything, I had one of those for a long
Yeah.
time. You probably had one of those too.
Yeah.
Um, but the difference between the distractions of technology and of before, what are that they're addictive. They
Mhm.
they pry on our, like, most primal needs as human beings, the need to belong. Like I was saying earlier, you get on social media, you go to Instagram, Facebook, you start comparing what's going on in other people's lives, what's going on in your life, and it's addictive. Knock on
And
the
they're
door.
designed to be addictive.
They are designed to get your attention, and that is addictive. Yes.
Mhm.
So, not that that's inherently necessarily a bad thing. If I'm someone who wants to sell a product, and it's not just selling a product, it's I believe that I've got the solution for you that's actually going to make your life better and actually going to give you something that you want, something of value. I need to be able to get your attention. So it's a tool to use for making the impact that you want to have in the world. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting people's attention, but for you being productive, you want to definitely try to guard your attention. That's probably one of the most valuable skills that you can have, especially moving into the future, because all the change that we've experienced over the past 10 years, we're going to experience that degree of change within the next 3 years. And it's going to be exponential, right? So, and will come a time when the past 10 years will fit into a week. That's how insane it will be.
Yeah.
Uh, and and who knows what that world's going to look like, but we are living into it, man. So actually, one thing that was in the back of my mind that I want to share around productivity is this really cool formula around performance that comes from this book called The Next Level, and it's talking about leveling up your productivity, leveling up your performance in your life goals. And the formula is performance equals your potential minus the interference. So we don't know what your potential is, but everything that interferes with your potential is, taking away from your full optimal performance. So the two different kinds of interference, number one, distractions, what we just talked about, and then the other thing is like mental interference. So those are the things that we were talking about earlier with anxiety, even like anger, sadness, hurt feelings,
Self-doubt,
all of
maybe.
that, self doubt, absolutely.
Mhm.
And by the way, it's not to in any way belittle or say that you shouldn't have those experiences. And then when you do experience them, you should not try to numb it. You want to feel your way through it. You want to allow yourself to feel those feelings, because if you just try to numb it, then the problem is definitely going to get worse. So there's no shame in experiencing whatever you're experiencing. It's 100% valid experience, and I have 100% confidence in saying that because you guys are experiencing it, right? Those are
Mm-hmm.
some things that you guys had said. So yeah. Those are what the tips I have for kind of staying productive. The other thing would be, first thing right after your morning routine, if you get going, uh, block out 60 minutes to work on the number one priority for the day. What do you need to get done today to move towards your goals? Turn your phone off, turn your email off. I promise you that if you don't respond to any of those messages within the next hour, the world will keep turning. And if people really know how to get a hold of you, they'll figure out how to get a hold of you. So yeah, take those 60 to 90 minutes and do 100% full focus, full concentration, get into the zone, enter flow. You just got that morning routine out of the way. You're primed to enter that state of flow. Take the first 60 minutes of the day and work on what's most important for you. It could be, uh, writing a paper for a class that's doing. That's maybe a goal of you getting all your A's, right? And by the way, if you want to like extra credit, take it to the next level. Um, Start before you go to bed. Like, take 1 minute. Like, for example, if you're writing a paper, start the first sentence. Don't finish the first sentence. Just start the first sentence. Because the hardest thing to do is to start. That's the hardest thing to do. If you start it before you go to sleep, no matter what it is, you've got momentum. As soon as you get out of that morning routine, you've already got momentum. You just read halfway through, oh, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You've
Yeah.
already pushed the rock, and it's going to take less effort for you to do it. And that's something that I haven't been able to be consistent with, but I've done it a few times, and it's super super awesome whenever you do it. I want to, maybe next time we have a conversation, I'll be able to tell you some stories about
Yeah, please,
how that's
please
going.
do.
Yeah,
Please
yeah,
do. That would be great.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's a big one for me. I think getting like a head start on that and then following through because like you said, it's always so hard to start, but once you do, it definitely it helps get the ball rolling. But besides that, John, thanks so much for coming on. It's been awesome speaking with
pleasure,
you
man.
and having this conversation, and talking and answering student questions and kind of giving them a little bit of advice as to what's going on right now. So, thanks so much for coming on. I think Global First Year's got an Instagram handle that people can follow, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
there's I let me look it up real quick if you don't mind. Um, my marketing person would want me to do so. So, well, I'll tell you, the career accelerators first is at FIU Career Accelerator. Sorry, FIU.career.accelerator. And our FIU Global First Year one is, sorry guys, I do not spend a lot of time on Instagram.
No, no worries.
So I think it's at Global First Year, at FIU Global First Year. I don't
Perfect.
see it on my feed, so, and I don't know how to look them up. So
No,
just
no worries. I'm pretty
type
sure
that
that's what
in,
it is.
you'll
Yeah.
find them. Yeah.
So make sure you guys follow them on Instagram. Check out John's mindfulness course that he does every semester, multiple times a semester. So if you want to learn a little bit more about these concepts that we talk about today, being mindful, more mindful, like really tapping into your full potential, make sure you check out those courses. And besides that, make sure to follow Honors on Instagram as well if you're not doing so already at FIU Honors to stay in touch and keep track of the next episodes. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next week. Thank you again, John. You are awesome, and we'll see you guys next week.